Hello, everyone. Welcome to Improving Project Collaboration with Sage Construction Project Center. My name is Vincent, and today we're going to go through a couple slides talking about our newest product to the Sage family, which is the Construction Project Center. We'll go through the slides and talk about some of the benefits and solutions that we're trying to solve for. And then we're going to get into demo. I'll spend most of the time demoing the product, kind of showing you the ins and the outs, the different parts of it. And at the end, of course, we'll have question and answer time to talk about anything that I may have skipped for time reasons as we went through this. Before I also begin, just to let everyone know, because this is a new product to the Sage family, it does work and is fully integrated with our Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate product. We are also working on an integration back to our Sage 100 Contractor product. You can use it today without the integration. That's completely acceptable for all the document categories and pieces like that. But we will be putting out an integration later on for the 100 Contractor side. And again, if you're Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate, I'm actually using that setup today, so you're going to be seeing exactly what you'd be using with that product as we go through this. Now, what is the product? Sage Construction Project Center is a cloud-based solution to get all of your different documents, RFIs, submittals, project-related information out available in the field, as well as all the costing and information goes with it. With this, the idea is to have more timely, convenient mobile access to all of your project documentation. And again, RFIs, submittals, punch lists, meeting minutes, change orders. And we wanted to make it so all your internal and external project stakeholders can share, find, track, and take appropriate action wherever they're needed, either at the office or at the job site. We want to help you become more organized and productive by allowing your project leaders to keep the project on time and on budget and minimize the risk of litigation due to our detailed document management and control and tracking. In fact, to talk a little bit about that risk of litigation that we're trying to avoid on here is that there is a lot of potential out there for things to go awry. You could have a warranty dispute, let's say, as an example, or where perhaps you had some pieces. If you're a custom home builder, you're putting out some, maybe some brick work out in front of the house, and during one of your RFIs, you have a question come up that, you want to make sure that, the warranty is going to be 2 years, and the person agrees to it through the RFI process, but then later on they'll try to tell you it was only a 1 year. We only do 1 year. We have all the tracking in our system to make sure you can pull out that story of what happened in case it ever comes to be. Hopefully it never does. And all this, of course, comes back to project collaboration, because those same people that are going to be, asking the questions, and they're going to be responding, and yes, I will do the 2-year warranty, no, I won't. They can all collaborate with you in the site and allow anywhere, anytime project access to theirs, and hopefully help you gain a competitive advantage in your market space by having such a tool that allow you to be more productive and move forward there. So the Sage Construction Project Center is designed around having kind of 4 major pillars of access. One is pure documents, being able to store all of your documents, whether those be your architecturals, your engineering documents, plans, specs, photos. We also have the other side of the documents that are going to actually be doing documents. Those are documents where you're not just recording something, but you're putting in questions to be answered. You have your submittal items that need to be submitted out and approved, meeting minutes that are tracked, daily logs, punch lists. And we also have another slide about cost management. Being able to access, and again, if in the Sage 300 Construction and Real Estate world today and 100 Contractor later, we allow you to see all of your cost data that's in your accounting system in the Project Center, out in the cloud, wherever you might be, as well as being able to do all of your commitments and your change orders and have those pushed back. And the 4th pillar really being, it is fully collaborative. We've designed the site around having everyone be able to log into a single place that's on a project, whether that's the owner, that could be your estimator, your CEO, your owner, the person who's purchasing the the construction, your field superintendents and project managers, and even your suppliers and subcontractors and vendors. Everyone can log into the system using Construction Project Center to ask questions, submit items, and do everything else that you'll need to do there, as well as notify people with email when things move forward and things of that nature. But we all track everything within the same system so that everyone can communicate in the same manner. And as we mentioned earlier with that risk of litigation piece, because everyone is tracked in and using the same system, we always have that ability to say who did what, when, did they download something, did they look at it. So let's take, it's enough of PowerPoints for this moment. Let's take a look at the software. So Construction Project Center, as I pull it up here, it is fully web-based. Now, a couple pieces about that to clarify. You can use Safari, Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, it doesn't matter. Project Center lives on the web in whatever browser you're using as long as you're on a web-enabled device. So it could be a tablet, could be a larger smartphone, could be my desktop or my laptop that I'm using today. Everything's designed to work within a single location, but we also have some apps that we're working on and being released that are going to be coming out here over the next several months, including daily logs, punch lists, RFIs, document access, in a way that can also let you see some offline capabilities and maybe better fit for a smartphone. So with this, the Construction Project Center is designed about having those major pieces that we talked about earlier all stored within here to allow me to put my costs and connect back in with my Sage accounting data, being able to say which people are on each project collaborating with us, of course doing all of our project documentation, and storing in all the plans and specs and photos. So let's do a workflow here. Let's talk a little bit about starting a job, pre-construction, moving it through the bid process into construction, and doing a little bit of daily work here. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the fact that we have lots of plans and specs that you're going to get on a job before you even won the bid. Now you're going to want to store that somewhere. A lot of people use ShareFile or they use Dropbox to store this. Well, we have a built-in place in the Construction Project Center for that. Now you can build out this file structure however you need. If you have a folders with specs or current plans, agendas, you can do that. Now if you're taking a step back, just so you know, I can have multiple projects that I have access to in the site. And if I have a folder structure that I want to build out for any particular part of Construction Project Center, I can have that be a template and I can copy that job to job as it makes sense to do so. Or I can create it outright, brand new on each job if I felt like doing that as well. So my folder structure is very basic. Current plans, I'm going to go into my architectural in this case. Within here, I can see all of my documents that I have stored. Now, we can store all the PDFs, all the TIFFs, whatever they might be. We do not give you any file size limits, so you can put in a 2 gigabyte file if you need to, and you can have 200 of them if you wanted. We're not going to cap you, so you can store everything you need without having to worry about hard drive space or paying for space as things come through. Now, as I'm looking at all these documents as well, note that whenever you come to view them, you're always going to get the latest revision showing up automatically. So in this case, revision 7 and the date of that revision. I'm going to be able to open it up in Adobe or whatever the product is. We don't have a native file viewer within here, but that's so that you can be very flexible in what you want to use. So if you have a particular program that you're used to doing markups with, you can absolutely download that and do it. Or if you just want to look at something quickly in Adobe, that's fine too. Now note, we are tracking everyone who downloads these files for you. So if you want to know if your architect viewed a file or if a subcontractor has, we only need to run a log and find out when they downloaded that file, did they look at it, things like that. And we also can control on security who has access to what documents, so you don't have to ever worry about the wrong person looking at the wrong documents because you're going to have that secured. Now I mentioned revisions. I can always go in and pull up my AO2 here and see all of the revisions behind the scenes that show, revisions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the original. We save all the files. You can always pop back over and look at them as it makes sense. That's part of having the storage of these is that we can then view them at any point. And then we'll talk about this little piece a little bit later, but at the end of the project, when it's time to download everything, we'll have you in a nice closeout file where you can see all that. Now, while I'm in the documents here, a couple things. We have a connection here to bid management. Now, we have two modules that work with this. Construction Project Center is the construction phase of things, where you can control all of your project documents and everything that goes along with the construction side. We also have the Sage Bid Management. I won't spend a lot of time on bid management. We actually have a separate webcast for that, and if you're interested in seeing it and you're not registered for it already, just shoot me an email and I'll get you the link for the bid management piece. But do know we do have the ability to switch over to our bidding side of things, track bids, and put in, here is what I'm bidding out to, scope of work, who is going to be sent out invitation to bid to based on their CSI code. We actually have a connection back in with Sage 300 to pull your address book data and allow you to pick your contacts right from there. But the reason I'm bringing this in on the Construction Project Center webcast is that all of these people who you can bid out to are all connected in the same website that you do in Construction Project Center, which means at the end of the day, it's really simple to say everyone who has won a bid, and we track whether or not it's yes, no, maybe, have they even bothered responding at all. But everyone who's going to win a bid, we just select them and hit award bidders. And those people who went through that bid management process of tracking to see whether or not they got a bid, did they receive it, are they the best bid, and then picking them, they just become project members on the main project site. And I also put it in this order when we're doing the presentation to note that all that document stuff we were doing earlier works on both systems. So I can save all of my documents, plans, specs, even photos if I need to get some early site preliminaries. I can store them all in Construction Project Center's document section through the bid management phase, and they just flow along right into the construction side as soon as you've awarded the bidders and become. So I won't spend too much time on the bid management, but note there is a presentation for this specifically if you want to get any extra details on it. Those bidders that come in and become awarded, or if you aren't using bid management, you could just manually add them here to the project members section, all flow in and become full-fledged members of a project. Now, our site is designed around a couple things. All members of the project can be added here. Doesn't matter if they're part of your company, if they're a subcontractor, a second-tier subcontractor, architect, engineer, the owner, you can add everyone. And the idea is this is a fully collaborative product and allow you to bring in everyone you do. And although I won't necessarily talk too much about price on this, I will let you know anyone outside of your company is free. We do not charge for your subcontractors. If your architect is outside your company, we're not going to charge for them either. You control what they can do and see and say and all that kind of information. The security within here allows you to even have people who you're working with have completely different security on different jobs. Subcontractor on job A can ask questions, they can submit items. By the way, when they ask questions through an RFI process, you can tell them they can only send questions to the to you directly, and that you would forward them to the architect and then back down the line. So be in mind that all the security roles are going to be very secure and allow your people only to do what you want them to. But say on Project A they are a subcontractor, but Project B, you actually hired them to do a little bit more. Maybe they're going to also be an actual employee on that job. Maybe they're moonlighting or however that's going to work. You could theoretically have a subcontractor on one job and a full project member on another with different security. Maybe they can see other folders, they can see other parts. And if somebody has even less because maybe they're just a consultant and you only want them to see things you send them and they can't create anything at all, you can do that too. Our security is very configurable for each project and how you can do it. And we make it very simple as well in that you have user-defined roles that are very standard that you can then customize as necessary. So you can tell a subcontractor almost always can do these three things. They can the only things they can do is see their RFI folders, their submittal folders, and maybe their meeting minutes that happen to be stuff they've been added to. But then you might have other jobs where they do more or less, and you can control all that. All these project members get emailed access to log into the site, and most of them are going to spend their time here in the project management spot. This is where they'll go to log in, and by the way, they will only see the things that they should. So I'm not going to change hats too often, but I will right now. I'm right now logged in as a project administrator. As a project admin, I can see all of my projects, and I can see all the different pieces here. Now, if I'm a subcontractor logging in, I'm going to see things a little different. I'm going to go ahead and open up a second browser and log into the site as a subcontractor just for a minute. And when I log in as a subcontractor, you're going to see that I see less. So first off, when I come to log in, I'm only going to see the jobs that I'm part of, so I only see 3 jobs instead of the 12 or so I have normally. And when I come in, I only see the folders that I have access to. And if I go to, not reports, I meant to go to project management, I can only see the things that I should add, such as if I am going to ask for an RFI, when I pull this up, I will only see my subcontractor folder and be able to ask a question there. I cannot go and see the general contractor's RFI log or the architects or anything like that. We pare things down appropriately for all of those other project members that are going to be logging in. Well, while we're already logged in here as a subcontractor, might as well show an RFI process. Now, your subcontractors can log into the system and create an RFI. It's something you can teach them how to do, and let's do it right now. Let's say you're an electrical guy. You have them say, hey, anytime you're going to do you have a question for us, please come into the system, create an RFI, and send it that way so we could track it. Well, they actually get their own RFI log. You're not forcing them to stick with your numbering schema, because if they did, it'd be something like this on the right where they have RFI 1, 3, 6, 7, 12. They don't want to see that. They want to see everything in the numbering schema that they normally use, 1 through 16, and hey, now I want to do number 17. So they can create their RFI. And by the way, as you're seeing this, this is the exact same creation view you would have as a contractor or as an architect. So regardless of what hat I'm wearing right now, which is the subcontractor, note this is the same way you're going to create it as a contractor as well. So they're going to say, okay, yep, it's coming from me. Since I have a different hat on, I should probably change to my subcontractor's name there. I can only send it to the people that I've been told that I can send it to. Again, subcontractors are limited in that they can only send questions to the project admin or the project assistant. And they're going to ask their questions. So I did an electrical RFI here, so maybe we're talking about how a control panel has a question that's coming up. I'm going to go ahead and put in my particular question or any other details I want to throw up above that. And I can say, the panel voltage is missing. And also you can see here I've not spelled things correct. Maybe I just don't care. Just note that later as we go through this process. But they say panel voltage is missing, and that's their question. I could put other pieces to this, CC other people I will want to. Maybe I will go ahead and reference a document back in the plans and specs because, of course, what am I talking about when I say voltage is missing? Well, what am I talking about? Let's go ahead and pull up the went to the wrong folder there, current plans. And I'm saying electrical, and we're talking specifically about this electrical document right here. So I'll go ahead and link back to that electrical document, voltage is missing, transmit that over. And now I, as the project manager, will receive an email for RFI number 17 that the subcontractor just sent me. Now, as a subcontractor, I'm pretty much done. I'm going to go ahead and close my window. As the project admin now, or the project assistant, as I said, I'm going to receive an email, and that email looks like this, where I'm going to say, Vincent, you have received a new FR from Scotty Subcontractor. It was for this project, there was the subject, and I can go straight to the RFI in the system or download the RFI as a PDF. I'm going to go straight to the RFI in the system. Now, actually, I'm pulling this up in a different browser now at that point, but that's okay. I'll go ahead and log in real fast here. So using my Firefox, I'll use Internet Explorer for a little bit of time. It takes me directly to that RFI, and when it comes up, I can see all the RFI pieces within here. I can read the question, panel voltage is missing. Here's that document that he sent me, so I can go ahead and download it and take a look at it and verify the information if I need to. sorry, pulled up on a different monitor there, and let's go ahead and zoom that in. I'll be like, okay, I'm looking at this document, and it's upside down. A couple things are going to pop up. Now, it could be that I'm looking at the document, and I think to myself, well, the panel voltage is there. The answer is it's 15 watt or 150 watts, and I can just throw that in. I'm done. I hit transmit the item, and I don't even bother doing anything with this. That's option A. Option B is, hey, you're right. It doesn't exist. I don't know what to do with that. I hit forward on here, and this will take their RFI 17, copy over all the information, and make it now my RFI 64. Automatically updates it to put my from to my architect. And from here, I could come up and maybe clean up the question a little bit. Hey, panel is misspelled, so let's fix that. Voltage is missing, not seeing it on the specs. Can you clarify? I'll fill in that information. I'll hit transmit now, and I'm going to send my RFI 64 to the architect for them to review and get back to me. Now, I'm not going to keep changing hats. I can obviously open up the system as an architect and answer it. All that stuff's part of the piece here. But again, I don't want to, keep changing hats on you guys. So what I'm going to do is pop back over here and just answer it through my own self. Contractor RFI 64 has been sent out to my architect. He gets an email similar to the one I just got. Takes him either right into the system. Now, here's an important piece that you can know. We have two options for reply. Now, the one I used when I got that email was taking me directly, and I had to log into the system. I am a fully collaborative member of this project, and I can answer the RFI. My architect may not want to do that, and they may want to do it, and that's great. They have access to all the documents and anything else we want to give them, but they may just say, send me a link, and I'm just going to answer it. We can actually put a little quick reply in there where they click a link. It takes them to a quick little web page where they can go ahead and fill in the information and download any files. No login necessary. If they do that, they can then put in their answer into the reply section, and we'll get that. It would be very similar to this. It is 150 watts. Post that reply, and I would then get an email back stating, the architect said it's 150 watts. Great. Now, when I receive that and I come up and I have the email, all I got to do is select that one, hit close. That's going to copy that answer, plug it into the answer field, and specifically says from, architect, let's say. We'll just cheat. From the architect, reply was 150 watts. I saves that in the system. It closes my RFI. It notifies everyone that was CC'd on it, as well as goes all the way back and notifies the subcontractor who originally submitted this to let them know what that answer is. That's what we need to do in the system, and it closes the RFI and it's done. It takes me right back to this little screen here of my RFI log, and note that a couple things we just did and saw. This is my RFI log. Not having to go to a screen to run a report to get an RFI log and be able to track it that way. It's the actual screen that has the hyperlinks to take me to those RFIs. I'm also not copying or duplicating any information because my subcontractor enters it in the system and I update the information and I forward it to my architect and they answer. Every single thing is happening one time. I send the information. They answer. That answer shows up in the screen. I hit save. There's no copying and pasting and duplicating. It's all a live, active system, and that's going to help you save a lot of time on all this process. If I wanted to see a report on RFIs, I just pop over here on the ribbon bar and go to my report section, and where we'll have a crystal report with a bunch of different options to choose from out of the get-go. Maybe I want to see all my open RFIs with the days with review or how many days overdue. And I can print out a little RFI report here to see what's going on. In this particular case, here's my open RFIs. I can see the log. I can see who's responsible, who submitted it, the dates, how many days overdue, was there any replies. These are all crystal reports. They can all be modified in Crystal, changed to however you want. And when I say all, I'm talking about the submittal reports, the change order reports, daily log reports. Everything can be modified as necessary, changed, and they can also be scheduled. So if you want to have before your OAC meeting every Tuesday morning, the RFI ball and court report to go out, the RFI report to go out, your submittal ball and court report to go out, daily logs for the last week, we can have those all set up to go. In fact, while I'm at it, let's go ahead and pull up one or two more reports just so you can kind of get a good idea of how these look. Maybe we're looking at submittals. We want to see a submittal detail report showing, here's all my open submittal items. Here it is. And I'll pull up this little Crystal report, pop it onto my main screen here, and you can see a submittal detail report with each submittal item that's going out, who we received it from, what's the status, whose ball in court is it at, is it my company, is it a subcontractor, is it the architect, how many days overdue. Again, we can get these reports sent out and tracking as we go through this. We also have, while we're talking about reports, the ability to look up activity. Now, we can do this on a project-by-project or site level, and you could see, run it by a particular person or project member, or you can run it by a task, or just look at it in general and see who is logged in the system and what have they done. In this case, you can see I've forwarded RFIs, I've created RFIs, I posted replies, I go back even further and see that I downloaded some files, I deleted a folder. Everything that you're doing in the system is being recorded, and that goes back to that, question of risk mitigation. If something goes missing, someone gets disgruntled and deleted stuff, you can know that. You can know exactly who did it, when they did it. You can know if somebody downloaded a file. So as I said, that warranty earlier, when I sent out the warranty, did they download it and look at it? I can see if they did or not. I can also see if I sent it. And we have an email log that you can run and see what emails have gone out and was there a reply back and a bounce back and all that kind of stuff. You have that full tracking of everything that's going on in the system. While I'm at the project management here, let's talk about maybe two more processes, and then we're going to move into our integration with Sage. So the last couple processes, we'll talk about daily logs, and we'll talk about submittals. Now, I'm showing you the web-based version of daily logs right now. There's two ways you can do daily logs. We actually have an Apple iOS app that's being released any day now for daily logs. So what I'm showing you right now is going to be the web-based version. We also have a tablet, smartphone-based version that you can run, do your dailies offline, and have them sync back up with the system when you get back into Wi-Fi range or anything like that. It's also designed maybe to look a little bit better on a smaller device. But you can also do it at web-based. You're never without an option when it comes to doing any of these pieces here in the site. Now, my superintendents can come out, do their dailies. Now, I copied over a couple days ago and brought it to today. Automatically updates the date, updates the temperature and the weather, all based on the zip code of the project. And from here, I can just start filling out my dailies. I can say none today. I can say comments, great day, no issues. Was there visitors? We had a subcontractor show up. Whatever. You can put in all the different information. You can take pictures right from your camera or tablet, meaning pulling from the camera roll or just taking a picture right then and there and having it attach. I can add files from my computer if I was on a computer, but all those different pieces can come in, including safety incident reports, photos. We track all the activity that's going on. Now, this isn't tracking back for timekeeping reasons. It's more for reporting reasons. We do have timekeeping apps out there. If you need to go and look at anything like that, just email me and let me know, and I'll get you to the right person. But if I do want to track in my daily logs, here's my concrete work. I had my concrete forms company out. They had a second-tier sub. They're working on a certain division. Maybe, let's pull up our concrete division here and say that they're doing some associated concrete, slab work. How many hours do we have? How many tradesmen, foremen, laborers? Maybe we had, 4 laborers this time around. Update that information, update your day, and now you've got your daily log all plugged in. This is all saved in the system, and again, if I need to run reports, I won't run every report in the system, but this is another report you can run and get a date range and say, here's how many hours we worked on these days, and for the different suppliers and subcontractors. We also can pull in here, and again, I won't get into detail on too much of this stuff. Some of it, meeting minutes. We can track all of your different meeting minute items, who's responsible, who attended meetings, and then distribute all the details and the notes that come up. We can track punch list items as well, where you can say, here we've got a electrical panel issue, or here we need to move a wall socket over. We can see the painters and electricians and the drywall guy, and everyone can punch off as they do their work. And we have punch lists for architect, subcontractor, owner, anyone you want to make sure is punching these off. And we'll also round back over to that and talk about the fact that some of these places, RFIs, punch list, open issues, you can also create PCOs from. And we'll get into that process in just a second. The last piece I'm going to talk about in project management before I get into that change management, accounting side of things, is we have submittals. Now, we have two kind of ways to do submittals. You can manually create a submittal item all by yourself without having to do any extra work. You could just say, here's my items, and here's what I'm uploading, and done. We also have the ability to import in your submittals from, say, an Excel spreadsheet. Maybe at the very beginning of a project, you get an Excel spreadsheet of everything that needs to be submitted in the timeframes. We can do that, import it in. There's an option right here where we can say import in, and we can grab that and dump it in. That can then create a nice little template here of all the different stuff. Maybe we're looking at our thermal and moisture protections, and we know that at some point on the project we need to turn in the certificates and the manufacturer's instructions and all the other stuff on this list. I can see all the different pieces imported in. I can also create a template on the cloud as well, where I can just copy it over and say, hey, this project's very similar to this other one. We're going to have the same submittal items, and we can do that. A couple of things about this. I can select a particular place and assign who's responsible to take care of this. That responsible party could be someone within my company, or it could be a subcontractor. I'm just going to say it's me in this case. I'm the responsible party. I got to turn this in. And once I've been set up as the responsible party, I want to start knowing when do I need to turn this item in and get it done. And so I'll actually take this and say, well, the certificates and everything else is due on the job by a specific date. Let's say maybe it's October 31st. And I have a 5-day lead time and a submittal review time of 10 days. That means I need to submit this item by 10/10, otherwise I'm going to be late. Our system will set up notifications and let me know 10 days before, 5 days, and the day of, and on the day of, it might even let my boss know as well, you need to turn in this item and get it submitted. So that we'll track that and know when our stuff needs to be turned in. I can select this here as well and turn it right into a submittal item. So right here is just kind of a tracking system where I can say when are things due, who's responsible. But I can also come over here and say, yeah, turn this into an actual submittal item for me to put in my files and send over. As I said earlier, I could manually create this. I can come in, say new submittal item. I can build this out manually. But why do that when you could just import it in from your Excel or from a template that you created? Here's all the stuff I need to turn in. Here's my items. I can see the action is currently set to submit. They're all set for approval. And what I would do is, as a person submitting these items, I'm going to go ahead and start adding my files. I can add multiples. I can, maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet I'm tagging in this particular case. Maybe I want to add some photos. Obviously I'm going to add the product data and the markups and all that stuff, mockups. Set everything I'm going to be submitting, hit the submit button, and this is going to create a submittal transmittal from me to the architect in this case, or from the subcontractor to the GC if that was the other route you're going. Going to add any remarks, maybe some of the stuff's being sent via mail. I transmit that, and it's going to shoot an email over to the architect in this case. It's got a transmittal, number 200 in this case, attached to a package. He'll be able to come in and actually respond back to this. So they'll see the items, they'll be able to download the attached files, and they can either highlight everything or just the parts they're returning in. Maybe they haven't received the product data yet, so I'm going to go ahead and drop that off. But I'm going to return everything else. This will get me the ability to approve things, so I can come through the list. Everything's been good. The qualification data, I wasn't quite sure. I'm going to say please do a revise and resubmit on that, but everything else is approved. Put in my notes, transmit this back over, and then that will allow me to track all this. And it's actually handling that submittal package and items. So I can come back and see a couple things. Most of the items are now approved. One of them was not returned. It's still for approval. And one of them says revise and resubmit. Now, if I'm getting this back, I'm going to go ahead and tell it that revise and resubmit to go ahead and change it to revision 1. I'm going to upload my new stuff, and I'm going to resend that. And eventually, my architect's going to eventually click on this and send that back to me as well. But we can track an entire submittal package and all the different items that go along with it. Everything's tracked within there on that submittal. And again, we can make that such a simple process just by importing a lot of that stuff in from Excel and creating those files. Now, I'm going to switch over to, would help if I didn't go to the wrong section there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some cost management portion of this now. This is primarily where we're integrated back in Sage 300. Actually, real fast, before I even get to this, I just want to point out one thing. We did talk about all the product management and the documents. Do know that everything we did on there is tracked and can do one of two things. We can download everything for backup reasons. Now, everything on the cloud is guaranteed for 10 years. We have no file size limits, so you can leave everything up as long as you want. But you might also want to download it back to your hard drive to have it in case there's anything, a global catastrophe or something where you need to have that. But we also have an ability to download everything for closeout. So if you happen to be turning this in to your owner at the end of the project and you want to get them a download of the closeout, what you do is you download everything to an offline website. You can put it on a flash drive if you want and hand it over to them. This offline website gives you everything that's on the site. So I can come into the documents section, plans, specs, current plans, architecturals, my AO1 with all the revisions, and get those documents available to them. They can see it. They can see the metadata. They're not getting a PDF dump of just everything and got to figure out what it is. Everything is in a usable format with the data, what the dates were, where everything was. It's all available here along with it. Not just the actual physical plans and specs and docs, but also those submittal items we talked about earlier, the RFIs, the contractor RFIs. Here's my RFI log. I can pull up and see the RFIs, the questions, the answers, all those attached files, who is CC'd. Everything's available. If I'm looking at punch list items and I'm looking at the bedroom and the paints, I can see when those were due, who is responsible, who got them done. This is the closeout file. So wanted to make sure you know that at the end of the day, all of your data is available for you to have access to when you need it to and to turn it in to the people along with everything. Everything's saved. All right, now back over to the cost management piece we were talking about earlier. We have the ability in here to do a couple things. So we have a contract information section here that is going to sync back in with the Sage job cost. Now, again, as I pointed out earlier, everything we've seen up until this point is global. Doesn't matter if you're Sage 100 contractor, Sage 300 construction real estate. Everything we've seen up to this point anybody can use. Now, this integration here is specific to Sage 300 construction real estate today. Anyone who's Sage 100 contractor, do note we're working on this. It's probably a couple months out. Things like that, so you can always ask me for a little bit more if you need a little bit more detail on that. But we are working on this for Sage 100 contractor as well, and it's going to look pretty similar. Therefore, you could watch this and note this will be how it's going to look like when you guys bring that out on your side. So this is synced in with job cost in the system, allowing me to see my estimate flow through from the accounting. I can see my schedule of values for my contract come over. And a couple columns you'll notice here, we can show all pending change orders, what's been approved, what's been billed. We're connecting with accounts receivable to show you that balance, as well as what our retainage balances are for a particular job. I can pull up on the summary and see all of my major information in one screen. Here's my contract, what's pending, what's changes are been approved, total, with little links to take me to those individual places. I can see my estimate for each of the categories, again, change orders, and job cost to date. All the gross margin, what's been billed, and payments. Everything on here is live. We set this up to sync with your Sage database about every minute to 5 minutes. You actually have a little bit of flexibility on how you want that to run behind the scenes. But this will be giving you pretty much up-to-the-minute data. There's no import exports you have to deal with. It's live syncing behind the scenes via a connector that's on your server. So your project managers in the field don't need to worry about creating all these reports and running them. They can just pull up and see this information here. I can even go and see a cost code overview where all the information is going to show for each of my cost codes, what my estimates are, what's been committed, job cost to date per cost code. And if I want to drill down into each of these to see the actual units and the breakdowns of each of the categories, we can do all that as well. We also, if I go take a step back here for a minute, we also have the ability to connect in with all of our commitments. This is pulling in my job cost commitments and showing me all my subcontracts or purchase orders that we have in the system. These will also link over to change orders, which we'll jump to in just a minute. But all of my commitments are pulling in the system, and I can get a quick overview, just like on the other screens, showing me change orders, invoiced amounts, what's been paid so far, is this a PO or is it a subcontract? And I can look at, say, this for metals here, and note that I can create these either back in Sage Accounting and have them pull up into the cloud, or I can pull up in the cloud and create the particular commitment here. I can create a subcontract and have it push back in, or I can create a purchase order and do that. And it's simple. We put in the number we're using, which vendor in our system, in this case, might link to vendor 601 in my accounting data. It's a PO. I can put my scope of work, what our retention is, and all of our commitment amounts. So what commitment item are we looking at? What cost code? Are we pulling any extras if you guys use phase jobs, if you're a 100 contractor user? All this is pulling in what our units are, total amounts, invoice, and then this syncs back in with accounting. And if I want to attach anything like maybe a signed subcontract, I can do that too. It's all available on the screen. Now here's a great opportunity to point out this button right here. Just saw a couple questions come in. I'll get to those in just a second. But the ability to take a commitment or a contract or anything like that and create change orders. This is actually our newest release that had just come out just recently, and we can now create change orders, PCOs, RFPs on the commitment side of things, and have those all sync back with our Sage accounting system. So create the commitment here. I can create the commitment change order right here in this button, which actually answers one of the questions coming in here. Where do I enter commitments and commitment change orders? And I enter those in Construction Project Center. I can also enter those directly in job cost as well. They would flow up into the cloud from job cost, just like when I create them in Project Center, they'll flow back into job cost. So it is flexible. You can do bidirectionally there. So now I have this change that I'm going to do. So we'll go ahead and say it's going to be, what's today's date, the 15th. This is created and going to be due, let's just go ahead and give it to the end of July. And our subject, you know, I forgot to even look at what that was what that original commitment was for. So we're just going to go ahead and adding more materials. Scope, you can put in any of that. What's our reason? Maybe there was unforeseen conditions that came up. We're going to be updating the rebar and wire mesh commitment item that was on there. And from here, once I save that, I can then start putting in all the details for what this is going to be actually do. Now, we actually have the ability to put replies, so if you want to post questions or anything like that that you want people to see, we could do that. But I can also add my cost event items, such as for this commitment, it's a subcontract change. I'm going to go ahead and add one lump sum. And this is going to be those extra materials we talked about earlier. We're going to say unit price. We're going to go and say $2,500, and we'll have that all subtotal for us. We insert that. We now can also plug in, if there's an extra that went along with it, which cost code is this going to affect? I'm just going to go ahead and say wood doors, and that's going to be materials. Cost code amount, in this case, $2,500. We're going to not do any retention, how many units, what's our unit cost, anything else we want to plug into there, we can. And this would then create that contract event, which I can then send over for approval. I can actually, if we go pop over to my actual contract event section here, you'll see that we can actually have each of these events get approved by a number of different people. I can have those commitment events go sent out and transmit that over to my subcontractor, who can then answer anything he needs to, update and put his signature and push those back. Or if we're doing, say, something like a PCO based off an RFI, because you can actually have an RFI create a PCO for you, those potential change orders would put in their different values and overhead, and we have the ability to have your architect sign off on it, your owner sign off for it, and of course you sign off on it and say, yep, this is ready to approve, and the ability to process all these into a variety of different manners. If I take a step back here, notice that our PCOs, I got a nice little log here of all the potential change orders that we want to do. Those change orders could be to the owner, they could be to a budget, they could be to commitment. However you want to set those up, we have the ability now to do all of them. But we have more than just PCOs and change order requests and change orders. We have the ability to do scope changes or approval letters or requests for proposal and send those off. These are all the different values that you can have set up, and maybe on different projects you have different levels. On a large project, you probably are going to have a PCO go to a change order and turn into, or change order request go to a change order. But on a small project or just a real quick change, you might just create a change order and directly have that go. The change order field here is what syncs back in with our job cost system so that those changes will show and reflect in accounting as well as on the project. And again, the change order here has multiple levels of approval. Maybe the owner has logged in and approved it. Maybe and we'll mark down who actually clicked the button and things like that. Who approved it on our end, and are we going to release this to accounting? Everything's flowed through the project center, pushed back into Sage, and now we have everything connected. So workflows now have been added to handle all of the different change management portion of projects as they go through. And it catches when I hit Save Changes here, it's catching that I particularly forgot something on here, so I'm going to go ahead and enter in that piece that I had missed earlier. A question came in, how do all these cost events relate to the revenue side? That is create a change request that we present to the owner. So if you have a change request that you want to put out, you would enter in the change request section here. So going back to my contract events, go into change order request. I can create a cost event to a change request to send over to the owner, create the information, plug in all the values, and I can actually hit the transmit button, and that will create a transmittal that I can then say go to the owner. The owner would then receive it, be able to view it, and then click over here and approve it on their side. I can also include the architect on there so they can give their approval, but we can transmit any of these over to the appropriate people to view them. They can then see any information. Again, owners can punch approve, architects can as well. And once it's been fully approved and we process it on to a final change order, when that change order is all fully approved, that syncs back in with Sage. Now, a couple last pieces here before we get into the Q&A section is first off, if there's anything I don't get to as we talk through this whole process, my email address is right there on the screen, vincent.pate@sage.com. If there's anything that I can't answer or would be best answered via email, like real complex questions, feel free to email me. I'll get you answered. We talked briefly about Sage Bid Management, and we talked mostly about the Sage Construction Project Center. So note that these are our new offerings into the Sage family. And if you have any questions on pricing or anything of that nature, please contact your Sage Customer Account Manager. Number is right there on the screen, 800-858-7095. And do note, if you are looking to add this, we have a promotion going on right now until the end of June that you can then use. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat Q&A. I'm not going to say the phone lines just for the amount of attendees I have today. But I'll go ahead and say if you have any questions, I can go back to any portion of the software as we went through here, and I'll answer it. I do see one question that had come in while I was talking. Can this be done on a phone? I'll answer that in two ways. The apps that we're creating will absolutely be phone related. So again, we have a daily field report app that's going to be released any day now. The daily field report app can be used on a smartphone without a problem whatsoever. We're also working on some other apps to be released probably by the end of the year, such as document access, RFIs, punch lists. Those will be done on a phone easily with the app. You can still use any part of the software on a phone, but keep in mind the smaller the phone, it's smaller the screen's going to be, more pinching and zooming, things like that. I'm seeing I answered most other questions on here. Okay, I see a couple more that just started popping up. One of them says, can we see bid management? Yeah, so I briefly showed bid management today, but because we actually have an entire webcast around the bid management side, email me, vincent.pate@sage.com, and I'll send you a recorded link of the bid management webcast, as well as if it hasn't already happened this month, and I don't know if it has, I'll have to double check my calendar, but if it hasn't already, I'll also send you the next bid management webcast that's going to be happening there. So go ahead and email me if you're curious more about the bid management side of things. And the last couple questions I'm seeing here is the idea to not send paper copies of sub-change orders or owner change orders and have them all approved in the system. This doesn't replace a wet sign. So if you need to get somebody to actually sign it and have that legit, you would still need to do that. This system would be more for the change management process and making sure that your process is being properly done. So you still need to get those signatures signed by people to have a legal reason to proceed forward and not ever get caught in the wrong manner. But this system will allow you to appropriately make sure those changes are being signed off, saying I approve this, don't do this, do this. That process is being augmented with this system. Question about, is this going to be available in Spanish, specifically asking about the daily field reports. It is a fully English system. There are some ways we can change some of the fields to be in Spanish, but not the whole thing. If you are looking to get in Spanish, shoot me an email. I'll kind of get you the details on that. Somebody asked about moving from another software into there. Is there a way to import data? There are some data we can import in. We're able to import in budgets, contracts. Those will actually import into Sage 300 or 100 at the end of the day. We can import in like your contacts for bid management, things like that. But the stuff like the daily logs, submittals, RFIs, those don't import in. So typically recommend if you're starting a new project, it's a great time to start popping into Construction Project Center, start your new project with those files. If you're switching mid-job, my recommendation is use the old system for the old job, and as those get phased out, then you can start the Project Center. Otherwise, you'll have either stuff in two different places, or you'll have to re-enter some of that information. Another question is, do we need to have ShareFile to use the document features? The answer is no. We do have a link to ShareFile if you're already using it and you want to quickly get access to those. But our document management portion of this is completely independent. You don't have to have any third party to make that work. Okay, last couple things here. Someone asked, how does this mesh with your AIM product? I'm going to go ahead and rephrase that. How does this work with a document management system? AIM is actually not a Sage product at all, so I'll kind of answer that partial of the way there. But this does work in conjunction a little bit in the fact that I usually recommend if you're using like Sage Paperless Construction as a document repository system, that's the Sage version of document management that we're using today. What I recommend is use the Construction Project Center here for all of your live projects. So when the projects first start up, you start putting all your documents here in the cloud, have them updated in the cloud, revised. When your project's done and it's time for closeout and you download all those files back to your machine to turn in, then I would store those in Sage Paperless Construction as a final place for them to reside in perpetuity, so you always have those documents. And so with that in mind, I think we're just about out of time here. And this actually answers one of the questions that just came through as well, is how do we get a recording for this? And that answer is I'm going to go ahead and hit stop here in just a second. And this recording will be emailed out to everyone here probably within an hour of this time. So thank you very much for attending, and I will get this out.